Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com, and we are here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we're here for not only induction week, but we're here for the grand opening of the new Grateful Dead exhibit, A Long Strange Trip, and we're here with curatorial director Howard Kramer. Howard, thanks so much for taking time to talk.
Thomas, thank you very much for bringing your super tricked out iPhone here. That's some serious gear, bro.
We're doing our best here, my friend, to keep up with you guys. How cool is this? Congratulations on a great week. You got a bunch of great people coming in. I know you've done a lot of hard work.
Yes.
Talk about this exhibit.
Sure. 5
different sections. Talk about the 5 sections here.
Well, the exhibit here is not built on chronology. It's built on things around the Grateful Dead. So the core of it is the band. And we start with a biography of the group. And then we move into songs and records. Then fellow travelers, people who were around the group, who influenced them, people who in fact worked for them. Touring, the group is a touring act. Fans and tapers, and then art and gear.
They were just as big on record as they were live, right?
Actually, they're much bigger live. I mean, the records actually were kind of secondary. They only released 13 studio albums in 30 years.
Wow.
That's pretty remarkable when you think about it.
And that includes some greatest hits?
No, actually, original studio records.
Okay.
Well, and the thing that gets me is they recorded in a time when many artists were required to put out 1 or 2 studio albums a year, contractually obligated. And they kind of broke out of that. And I have to give credit to the band and their record companies, Warner Brothers, Arista at one point, and they had their own record label, for recognizing that their strength was actually performing live, and records came with that.
And talk about the live experience. You've got Deadheads that would follow these people around really on entire tours. I mean, they would get on the tour, they would follow them for weeks.
Yeah.
What inspired people to do this, unlike other bands?
The one thing was the love of the music. That was the bottom line. It was all about the music for the fans, as it was all about the music for the band. I mean, these guys came together and existed to create the moment. They created this incredible, passionate, highly improvisational moment of magic. Sometimes it was better than others, like any musician. But that's what fed the fans and the relationship between the fans and the band.
When you've got these songs section of the exhibition, they weren't known for any. I mean, they didn't really have hit songs. So what are you actually covering here when you talk about their songs?
Well, when you think about it, they have a lot of very well-known songs. Truckin'.
Sure.
Truckin's a very well-known song. Box in the Rain was a song that closed many, many shows. That was a favorite, a Phil Lesh sung song. Uncle John's Band, Sugar-E. I mean, I went to see the Grateful Dead for the second time in 1991 thinking, I'll check it out. I knew like 80% of the set. I was surprised. Their songs have this incredibly beautiful American quality. They're insidious in the fact that you know them and you don't even realize you know them.
It's just there. They're in the environment. They're in
part
the
of our
ambiance.
language. They're part of our language.
Talk about the art and the design, which is always a big part of what they got. Folks around them who help design their sets, design their album covers, posters.
Sure.
How big a deal was that for them?
I think it was a huge deal. I think one of the things about the Grateful Dead is they had probably the most identifiable sense of visuals than any other group, and certainly more than anybody else. Think about it. Roses, dancing bears, skeletons, pyramids, cats. I mean, all these things work, and we were really fortunate. I was really lucky to find a lot of the original artwork. Not just like, this is what that looks like 12 by 12 on an album. This is what the actual painting looks like. The real artwork from either Rick Griffin or Wes Wilson or Alton Kelly, Stanley Mouse. We have a tremendous collection of original art.
Talk about what else you have in this exhibition in terms of equipment, guitars, wall of sound.
Yeah, well, the wall of sound, of course, was a PA, which in fact they really didn't use for all that long. It was less than a year. It was just too big and too expensive to maintain. But it was custom made based upon a lot of Bears specifications and Dan Healy's.
And they dwelled on this, though. They dwelled on their sound. Even in the studio, even live, right? They were very specific about what they wanted.
They were technologically very demanding in terms of their live sound because they wanted the best possible. And now the technology that's available so far exceeds what was available 30 years ago. But they were at the cutting edge of it at the time. So we have speaker cabinets that were used during the Wall of Sound era. We have 5 Jerry Garcia guitars, 2 of Bobby Weir's, 2 sets of drums from Mickey. We have a bass from Phil. We have keyboards that were used by several of the different keyboard players. And one thing I also want to point out is, there was a woman who was a member of the Grateful Dead, Donna Jean Godchow, and we have 2 of the outfits that she wore on stage at 2 very, very memorable shows.
Nice. Yeah. Talk about the fellow travelers that sort of followed up with these folks and hung around with them because they were just as important as the band members.
As the group is getting together, you got guys like Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters. And Kesey, in '62 releases One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which was a hugely successful record. Book.
Right.
And it changed the way people looked at things. It was a literature landmark. Kesey and this group of people around him, the Merry Pranksters, were all about exploring consciousness through peyote and LSD and creating this performance art and using sound and light and all these elements to kind of enrich your senses and enrich your life and challenge societal norms. And the Guys and the Dead were there as this happened, all along the peninsula in the Bay Area.
Taking the acid tests and electric Kool-Aid. And
yeah, exactly. They were taking the acid or playing the songs to other people taking acid.
Right.
And guys like Kesey and Neil Cassidy, the writer who is immortalized in On the Road, Jack Kerouac. They really shaped how the Grateful Dead saw the world, what their music was going to be, in a sort of spiritual Zen way. And that's why the Grateful Dead became who they are.
Right. Bill Graham was a big influence as well, the whole San Francisco scene. Talk about that. How important was that scene?
Well, Bill Graham, there's this yin and yang because, you had two sides. You had on one side Chet Helms, who was the guy who was the default leader of the Family Dog as promoter, and then you had Bill Graham, who was a very commercially instinctive individual. And the times there were conflicts between what the Dead and Bill wanted to do, but they worked together for 30 years. He was a very important guy in their development.
Right. What's your favorite part of this exhibit here, Howard? I mean, you put a lot of it together, and you were instrumental in this.
I'll tell you, first of all, I always go for handwritten lyrics. I love handwritten manuscripts. I love seeing what people put on the page. I like, I like seeing thoughts, where the brain was working and how it, transpired. That and the original art. I've always been a poster fan, but to see, Wes Wilson's original painting, Rick Griffin's original painting of Without a Net, and see every brushstroke, it kills me.
It's a very visual exhibition, isn't it? You got to really be here and see it. Yeah. Thanks so much for taking time to put it together, and thanks for taking time this week, Induction Week. How big is this for Cleveland?
This is huge. It's huge for us. I mean, it's a once-in-a-lifetime event every year, and we're glad that you guys can be part of it, and everybody out there. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Howard.
Thanks.
Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com. Have a great week in Cool Cleveland.